Imagine the resources of the world's most powerful intelligence agency focused on a single person for decades. Over 600 distinct operations, all backed by a nearly unlimited budget, with one specific goal. That target was Fidel Castro. He didn't just survive the Cold War, he outlasted 8 US presidents and eventually died of natural causes at age 90. This timeline tracks the revolving door of 8 different administrations, from Eisenhower to Clinton, while Castro remained the constant factor. Every attempt by the CIA over these 40 years met a 100% failure rate. Understanding how a sophisticated agency could fail this consistently requires looking past the individual plots. This 40-year streak suggests an institutional culture that had become trapped in its own cycle of Cold War paranoia. Following the 1959 revolution, the United States faced a communist state operating less than 100 miles from Florida. For the administration of John F. Kennedy, this was a presence that could not be tolerated in the Western Hemisphere. After the 1961 Bay of Pigs invasion failed to trigger a popular uprising, Kennedy authorized Operation Mongoose, a massive, multi-agency effort to remove the Castro government. The project began with a focus on wide-scale destabilization. This map outlines the primary targets of the initial campaign: the systematic sabotage of oil refineries, sugar mills, and power plants to cripple the Cuban economy. These aggressive acts of state-sponsored sabotage contributed directly to Soviet anxieties. Fearing a full-scale US invasion, the USSR moved to place nuclear missiles on the island, leading the world to the brink of the Cuban Missile Crisis. When strategic sabotage failed to achieve a regime change, the CIA's methods began to drift away from geopolitical reality. The operations moved from infrastructure targets to a desperate, singular focus on assassination. Records eventually revealed 638 documented ways the agency planned or attempted to eliminate Castro. The tactics entered the realm of the bizarre. The agency explored rigging seashells with explosives, where Castro liked to dive, and even contaminating his favorite cigars with botulinum toxin. The closest the agency ever came to success was in 1963. They successfully delivered a lethal poison pill to an operative working at the Havana Hilton, who was instructed to drop it into Castro's daily chocolate milkshake. The plan failed because of a simple physical error. The capsule had been hidden in a freezer and became stuck to the frost. When the assassin tried to pry it loose, the pill tore open, spilling the poison. As lethal plots failed, the agency turned to public humiliation. One scheme involved spraying a radio studio with an LSD-like aerosol mist to induce a live on-air meltdown, hoping to convince the Cuban public their leader had lost his mind. This chart breaks down Operation Bounty, a plan to drop leaflets over the island offering cash rewards to any Cuban who killed a government official. They offered $57,000 for department heads and up to $1 million for members of the cabinet. The reward for Castro himself was set at exactly 2 cents. This was a calculated move to denigrate his status, signaling to the public that their leader was the least valuable person in the regime. The evolution from high-level sabotage to frozen poison pills and 2-cent bounties indicates that the agency had lost its professional and tactical grounding. This raises a fundamental question. How did such reckless and amateurish schemes receive funding and authorization at the highest levels of American intelligence? The 1975 Church Committee investigation finally exposed the mechanics of these operations to the public. This diagram illustrates the doctrine of plausible deniability. It was a bureaucratic shield designed to protect the president by ensuring that if an operation was exposed, the link between the field agents and the White House could be cleanly severed. Maintaining the shield required a language of euphemisms. In internal reports, the word assassination was stripped away and replaced with sterile corporate terms like executive action, further distancing policymakers from the reality of the violence they were funding. By shielding officials from the truth in the name of political protection, the CIA created a vacuum of accountability. In this space, even the most absurd ideas could flourish without consequence. The extreme secrecy used to protect the government eventually acted as a snare. When the United States resorted to cloak and dagger tactics at this scale, the hand of the sponsor was ultimately exposed to the world. These failed plots caused deep international embarrassment for the United States and validated Soviet paranoia, keeping nuclear tensions at a fever pitch for decades. There is a deep irony in the outcome. By attempting to kill him over 600 times and failing every time, the CIA inadvertently turned Castro into a legendary, untouchable symbol of resistance. The 40-year crusade against Castro demonstrates the danger of removing operational oversight from elected officials. The CIA's true failure was a total collapse of institutional accountability. For more deep dives into the events that shaped the modern world, subscribe and hit the bell for notifications on our next release.